Alright, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy for 7 and today we're coming at you with an update 41 updated Dragonite 1v1 build. And a lot of you are really gonna love this build because it is old school mag DK. That's right, I'm talking like 5-year-old ancient mag DK coming back. So, without further ado, let's get started. To start off, I'll cover the things that I normally forget sometimes. For one, we are a Breton. I'm a Breton Dragonite. You can be a Dark Elf if you want. Just you need to add probably 1 cost reduction jewelry. Or, High Elf could be decent too. But I suggest Breton. Breton's my favorite way to play Mag DK. We are running the Atronach Mundustone and Bear Haunch for our food. And I am a stage 3 vamp, like usual. So, let's get into the gear. Like I said, we're going back old school. And by that I mean Burning Spellweave, baby, bringing it back. I have tried pretty much every damage, spell damage or weapon damage increase, stat increase set on the front bar. And there are a couple options that will get you higher numbers than Burning Spellweave, but they are not as reliable, such as Clever Alchemist and Coral Riptide. So Burning Spellweave definitely outperforms everything else I've tried so far. On the back bar, the tried and true, obviously the meta set, Rallying Cry. Tough not to use it, it's just so good. And it gives us that extra 300 weapon and spell damage, which is perfect for this build. It's just a pure direct damage stat increase Dragonite build. Very simple, you're not stacking up a bunch of proc cheese or nothing like that. Go Sea Serpent Coil. Obviously, when Sea Serpent Coil is fully added up, it's worth like nearly 1,000 weapon and spell damage. 430 flat increase, plus you get the 10% for Major Berserk, which, depending on your build, Major Berserk could be worth up to 500 weapon and spell damage sometimes. It just depends on what build you're running. So, yeah, Sea Serpent Coil is typically what I'll run, and I do have one variant to run Mark and Ring, which I'll cover. We're running 4 light, so light belt, light boots, light pants, light gloves, all in pen. Balorg, 1 medium, 1 heavy in pen, and then a heavy reinforced chest. So 2 heavy, 4 light, 1 medium. And I'll cover more on it in a bit. You guys might think like 4 light, I don't know, that's kind of squishy, blah blah blah. It's not squishy because you have 8,000 weapon and spell damage fully buffed, and your healing is super strong. Plus you have a ton of stamina resource because you're not using it very much, and you can hold block a lot. So that's our gear. We'll get into the skills. So this is where it gets a little interesting. There's a couple options, but this is how you kill Sorcs. This is how you counter a Sorc. This is how you counter range in general. And this is how you kill a Sorc on a direct damage DK. Dragonfire skills. It is the same thing as Flames of Oblivion. Same damage numbers as you can see. However, it reduces projectiles by 50% for 6 seconds, and it lashes back and attacks every half a second. So it attacks twice as much as Flames of Oblivion as long as you're being hit. Obviously, we're going to do our Engulfing Flames for the 6% bonus. Big Daddy Whip. This motherfucker can hit up 10, 12k sometimes. Fireballs. And then you got your tried and true Dragon Leap, obviously, is to pure on fire damage build, so you can't go wrong with a fire damage leap. Plus the shield is incredibly good. Shattered Rocks for the heal. Also pretty good damage sometimes. We got your elemental susceptibility. That's normal, you know. Too good not to have, especially Ice Staff on the back bar, which causes the chill. Gives you that 10% crit damage. I'll give you a rotation breakdown. Hardened Armor, very important for the build. Hardened Armor over Volatile. The reason is we are running the Bastion CP, and I'll get back into the CP in a minute here. But the shield and Hardened Armor is no joke. The skill is 2500 magic. It's super cheap. The shield is really good, and it's going to give you your buff, the fire damage, you know, like up 500 or so, 450. It's not bad. Obviously, Vigor, best heal in the game. Degeneration for your weapon spell damage buff. Coagulate, and we don't need an ultimate on the back bar, so we just run to Temporal Guard for the 5% reduce. So let's get into, like, rotation. So you're on your back bar, you're fully buffed up. The first thing you're going to do is your Degeneration on back bar into your elemental susceptibility. Now when you're doing your rotation, I'll break it down a little bit more when we're watching the videos, but you get your full buffs up, you go get your fire breath on them, get your flames of oblivion out, keep your dragonfire scale up on cooldown, so every 6 seconds you're reapplying it, CC them on cooldown. But survivability, the key here is you go to your back bar, Hardened Armor, Vigor, reapply your Ellie Sus, then back to your front bar. Do your rotation. Fireballs is your spammable. You're only using Engulfing Flames when you need to reapply the buff. You're doing Dragonfire Scale on cooldown. Fireballs are your spammables. So you're just keeping your whip stacks up with Fireball, lock them down, whip them. Reapply Fireball, back to your back bar. Hardened Armor, Vigor, reapply Elemental Susceptibility. The last thing you do, and then you go straight back to the front bar again. Fireball first, then back into your wings. Like, you're constantly weaving in Fireball over and over and over. The wings is going to do its thing naturally. You don't have to worry about it. Just keep it up. When you have to reapply all your buffs, you know, you do Degeneration, Hardened Ward, Vigor, back to Elisus. It's very efficient to keep doing Hardened Armor. It's cheap. It's only 2,500. It's a really good shield. There's no reason, like, don't worry about just casting it over and over. It's super good. So just Hardened Armor, Vigor, Hardened Armor, Vigor. You can keep rinse and repeat over and over defensively and get into your rotation. Now I am primarily running Balorg on this. So I typically try to hold off on ult until I get a 250, maybe a 300 stack of ultimate. And then you pop Balorg, and you'll get up to 8,100, 8,200 weapon and spell damage with this build, and I don't even have it golded out. Whoops. So yeah, even with it not golded out to get the full 490 value for Burning Spellweave, I'm still hitting like 8,100, sometimes more. A 500 stack of Balorg, fully buffed up, is gonna be like 85 or 8,600 weapon and spell damage, and like 25,000 penetration. It's super high numbers, really big dragon leaves, 14, even 15k sometimes, over 10k whips after the dragon leap. And then if your fireball and dragonfire scale, if they both proc at the same time that you're doing your leap into your whip, you can guarantee that that's going to be another at least 6 or 7k between them. They can crit for 5k each. If they both crit, it could be 10k extra damage on top of your combo. Champion points. We do Deadly Aim and Master at Arms, no brainer, single target. Everything we do is single target except for the breath, but everything else is single target, so super good. Direct damage, obviously everything we do is direct damage, except for the fire dot, so everything else is direct damage. This is not like status effect proc DK. This is old school direct damage DK. Ironclad and Duelist rebuff, because there's no other damage things. Crit fighting finesse is not worth, don't have enough crit. Thaumaturge is not worth, we're not doing dots. Fighting aura is not worth, we don't have AoE. Wrathful strikes is not good enough, so there's just no other reason to do another damage. You might as well stack on 6 and 6 for the Duelist and the Ironclad. Super good. Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, Sustained by Suffering, and Bastion. Bastion is going to increase your heart and armor, and it's going to do a lot of damage to Sorcs. The whole point of this build is making something that can kill a fucking Sorc. Those little rat bastards are so strong right now, and I tried to find multiple ways to finally be able to compete with them. This is the answer. This DK is the answer. So let's make sure that I covered everything. I think we got it all. Oh, for melee options, let's get into some gear options real quick before we go to footage. Melee options, I put on Poison Claw. You can do Burning Embers instead. It is between 450 and 500 heals per second extra, which can be good depending on what you're fighting. So I find Balorg is my favorite way to run things. I do have a Blood Spawn option, a Kjolnir's Nightmare option, and a Zon option. Now against Sorcs, you're going to need the Balorg, you're going to need Sea Serpent Coil, and you're going to need the Wings. You got to really stack on that damage to be able to burst a Sorc. The shield is so strong. Against all melee classes, you can run the Balorg option or the Zon option are probably the best two choices. Against a Nightblade, you're going to want Balorg. You got to be able to burst him quickly, kind of like a Sorc. Against other classes that are not cloaking and shit like that, Zon is probably your best option. We have a ton of weapon and spell damage on this build, which makes Zon hit really, really hard. And then against people that have a lot of dot pressure, strong, like heavy dot classes, people running Serpent Descent, shit like that, you're probably going to need to take off Sea Serpent Coil and put on the Marking Ring instead. Sea Serpent Coil will have a low uptime against somebody constantly putting out a lot of pressure. It's very difficult to get your health all the way back up to the top again. So just swap for the Marking Ring instead and put on the Venomous Claw for the extra dot. You'll be fine against most dot builds with this. Is very tanky and very good healing, even though you have low resistances and stuff with 4 light. So let's go over some of the footage. We'll just start with this one, I guess. Alright, so here we got, I think the first one is Riz. Okay. We got some short duels in this one. So this is Rizian on a Sorc. I think he's running a bow build here, which is physical damage, which, you know, makes it hurt even more. But this is kind of when I was first starting to test the build and doing with no wings, just stacking on dots with Kjolnir's Nightmare. And after I do this and see the potential with it, then I start playing around with wings instead. So now we're gonna fight, if you see, I'll slot wings now instead. And we're gonna go into PXT. This guy's a pretty good Sorc. He knows what he's doing. He beats most of the people here in Wayrest. You know, he's not bad at all. And he's trying out the Sorc bow build here, which has really strong burst damage. This is probably the best 1v1 version of a Sorc right here, this build. So I tried a lot of different setups going up against him. And you see there, big dragon leap into a whip. I found that we'll put up another one against him. I found that Kjolnir's Nightmare just wasn't quite stacking up enough pressure. And when I swap to Balorg and get that Burning Spell Weave procced, as you can see in my prominent buffs, you'll see right here on the screen, there's my Burning Spell Weave. I've got a nice little add-on set up for it, so I can see every time that Spell Weave is ready to go. And the key here is I always try to go to my back bar, get that Sea Serpent Coil buffed up again, and then proc the Burning Spell Weave into my DPS rotation. Now here I had to do a defensive Dragon Leap because he was putting on a lot of pressure, so I needed to reset the fight. But you'll see I do a lot of wing management and fireballs. Every time I swap my bar, I reapply fireball.
Just for 7.
It's very, very strong. Alright, we got our Dragon Leap ready. Now you want to try and hold off on it until you can get at least around 200 ultimate. Sometimes you're going to have to use it to get your sustain back, but, you know, just work on trying to build it up again. I got my Sea Serpent Coil back up. Got the Burning Spell Weave on. As you can see, even without Balorg, you're still over 7,000 weapon and spell damage when you're fully juiced up. There is a little bit of micromanaging with this build. You got to make sure the Rally Cry is on. Then you got to make sure the Sea Serpent Coil is on. Go to your front bar and proc the Burning Spell Weave. But you get used to it. It's not so bad. It gets comfortable after learning the rotation. This is a good example that this Sorc is not a bad player. He knows what he's doing. He's a good Sorc, and he's very hard to kill. You know, as in Showcase here. It's not like it's some just walk in the park or anything. This is not easy to do. It's very difficult to be a Dragonite and kill a Sorc. Defensive leap there because he did his Dawnbreaker. He's putting on good damage. Got the Sea Serpent Coil on. Blood Spawn is out. Got a leap ready. Oh, there goes the Rally Cry. Now we got a redo Sea Serpent Coil. It's up. Burning Spellweave is up. Everything's lined up. And
it is.
Booyah.
Booyah!
Just gotta look for your window of opportunity. Alright, this one, we got Spirit changed here. So Spirit normally plays Nightblade, but he's been messing around on Sorc lately. Alright, we got the rally on. No Sea Serpent Coil. There we go. I got my health all the way up. Got the rally on. Burning spell weave is on. There's a leap. It misses. There's the rally. Got Sea Serpent on. Now sometimes, even without doing your leap and proccing Balorg, you still get some really nasty whips sometimes. Upwards around like 9 or 10k. You see my DPS up in the top left, pulling 5300, chasing around a Sorc, and that's pure direct damage, really. I'm not applying very many dots or anything like that. As Dragonfire Scales put in some serious work. Big leap into a whip. There it is. You like that? I myself. Now here we got Voltages. He hangs out around here quite a bit. It's very important, chat, to constantly keep your wings up, because that's 50% reduction. And don't be afraid to hold block. You're not using stamina for anything else other than vigor, so you got a lot of sustain with your stamina. And you need it, because you need to be able to hold block. It's very important to have that ice staff on the back bar too, for the block mitigation. Always apply elemental susceptibility as the last thing on your back bar, and then go to your front bar. That way you get the most uptime on the crit damage, the 10% from chill. Get the most opportunity to make something out of it. A lot of the time, if I'm struggling to proc Sea Serpent, I like to lock them in Shatter Rocks, go to the back bar and hit a Coagulate into a Vigor. Pretty much guarantee that you're going to get that Sea Serpent coil up. Couple big whips there, and he goes down. And now I'll go into... Let's do one melee, just to show you guys that it is possible to beat good players in melee as well. I recorded this one from my stream the other day, but yeah, so I've got I swapped wings for Burning Embers, and I put on that Zon setup with the Marken ring. So Grom is running a very heavy dot pressure build, Serpent Disdain and Dragon's Appetite, and he's just applying tons of status effects over and over and lots of pressure. So it's very difficult to keep Sea Serpent coil up. I opt for Marken Ring instead. And then I go with Zon for the added pressure instead of Balorg. And just try and set up your combo. Hit a good leap once that Zon is about to end. Try to wait till like the end of Zon to get the most damage out of it. The weakness to direct damage DK, you know, old school mag DK like this, its weakness is dot pressure. Other classes that have lots of dot pressure, they apply a lot of DPS to you. I think Grom was pulling on his DK versus DK, he was doing like 6,800 DPS to me versus my 5,000. But I still wind up taking him And then this on his Necro. His Necro is very strong too.
Damn, I didn't have a leap ready.
Lots of dot pressure. Now, the Templar was a bit easier, but he's got a pretty solid Necro setup that he's got going on here. I was worried that he was going to Dawnbreaker me after that last Blast Bones, so I did a safety Dragon Leap, a defensive one. I do choose to run Tripods for the extra health. You can run Harrows and Potions if you really want to. I don't think it's that necessary though. You should be alright without it. Especially if you're not running Balorg. Putting a lot of pressure on him here, but still having a hard time finishing him off. Now you can run Corrosive on this build if you want to on the back bar. It is an option. Nice Dragon Leap to finish it off there. I'm not a huge fan of Corrosive, but it is definitely an option. I did mess around with it a little bit. It's strong for sure. I still like my big Dragon Leaps with the Balorg though. Like I still prefer that. But yeah, I don't think I missed anything in this build video. I think I covered pretty much all of it. We'll throw in a little extra at the end here though, just to recap. This is the Dragonite anti-Sorc 1v1 build video. I was telling people some different setups and everything like that. I do think Burning Spell Weave is the best option. Rallying Cry is too good not to have. I do prefer the Balorg and Sea Serpent Coil setup most of the time. We got a couple other options though. And races, I highly prefer Breton, but you can go Dark Elf if you want, or maybe High Elf. Those are the next best choices. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the build video. I'm probably going to do Arcanist next. And I've been enjoying that a lot lately too. So you guys look out for that one. And take it easy. Hope you enjoy it.